Thousands of years before the fall of Bast, the title-locked moon of Kenshi was home to the First Empire, a prosperous and advanced continent-spanning civilization that eventually fell, likely due to a civil war which led to the first extinction, when intelligent skeleton robots would have exterminated their human creators, if not for Stobe, a great behemoth robot who sacrificed his life to save the last of humanity. In awe of Stobe's heroism, many skeletons were deeply ashamed of their actions and could not live with the guilt, resulting in some lost to mass suicides, while others learned to live with the pain, forever plagued by bouts of depression. After the Chaos Age, which followed the first extinction, the surviving remnants of humanity fell to primitive barbarism, and so a group of skeletons formed the Second Empire, seeking redemption for their kind by creating a safe and prosperous environment for humanity. Led by the Emperor Cat-lon, the Second Empire thrived for many years, until the growing human population rebelled, thanks in part to the emergence of a cult that worshipped Stobe, revering the giant robot for saving their people, while resenting the skeletons who nearly wiped them out. Eventually organizing themselves into a humanocentric religion, the cultists started clashing with the government, and so Cat-lon sent police and military forces to restore order. Yet the Emperor's iron-fisted approach only escalated the conflict, slowly weakening the realm until the cultists broke away to form the Holy Nation in the fertile lands at the center of the continent. The final catastrophe then came from a great famine, which at last saw the state dissolve, with individual peoples migrating to more resource-rich lands, or else ending their association with the Second Empire. Scattering in every direction, some humans became nomads, formed gangs, joined cults, or founded independent realms and settlements, while those seeking larger states could join the Holy Nation under the theocratic government of the Holy Phoenix, which offered the protection of walled cities as well as police and military forces, in addition to plenty of food, water, and medicine produced from lush farmlands. Yet joining the Holy Nation also meant submitting to their religious doctrines, which included a hatred of technology and belief in a racial hierarchy, placing Greenlander and Scorchlander males at the top, while human females were treated as property. Shek were deemed beasts to be redeemed through slavery. Hivers considered former humans so corrupted they could only be enslaved or killed as a mercy, and skeletons who were entirely irredeemable and should be killed on sight. As for those humans or others who sought a large but non-religious state that did not discriminate based on race or gender, they could join the United Cities Empire, formed as a successor state to the Second Empire, through an alliance of settlements in the south and northeast of the continent, including the territories of the Hook, the Bone Fields, Stormgap Coast, Heng, Bast, and the Great Desert, which hosted the city's Drifters Last, Clownsteady, Catan, Morn, Brink, Heng, Bast, Shobatai, Stoked, Bark, and Heft. In addition to offering walled cities defended by samurai armies, most citizens had significant personal freedom, largely left alone so long as they followed the law. However, food, water, and medicine were not as abundant as with the Holy Nation due to a lack of fertile farmland, and their government was ruled by a feudal aristocracy and overprivileged emperor, which sought to increase their wealth and power at the expense of the population. Over time, the class divide in the United Cities grew so extreme, the nobility made poverty illegal, forcing low-income peasants out of the cities, where their only protection was the occasional samurai patrol. A corrupt slave state, they not only captured foreigners, but also abused the law to sometimes arrest their own citizens, profiting from their forced labor. Drug use was also highly illegal, with most shops refusing to buy hashish, while guards randomly searched those entering their cities. The imperial government and economy of the United Cities were supported by the Traders Guild out of Heng, allies that brought in goods during times of hardship. Yet this wasn't always enough to prevent catastrophe, like when a terrible famine struck the southern half of the empire. Although the Traders Guild sent food shipments, bandits and raiders blockaded the roads, stealing what was sent, and events only worsened when the southern nobility hoarded the few goods that made it through, leaving the rest of the population to starve. Desperate to survive, citizens rose up in the Red Rebellion, leading to the death of many, including the Emperor Anzai, until the nobility eventually crushed the uprising and selected Tengu as their new emperor out of the capital Heft. A cruel, spoiled, callous dullard meant as a puppet for the aristocracy, Tengu ruled with the aid of his inner circle, including Lord Kurusaga, Lord Ota of Heft, Lord Inaba of Stote, Lord Nagata of Shobatai, Lord Yoshinaga of Heng, and Captain Igor, a masterful warrior who led his elite army against their most dangerous enemies. Inspired by the peace, stability, and order of the Empire, a group of vigilantes formed the United Heroes League, acting as an unsanctioned paramilitary enforcing laws as they saw fit. Yet in reality, the organization mostly focused on bullying and attacking non-humans. Their racial bigotry, though not officially endorsed by the Empire, did reflect the views of some within their society, who stereotyped Hivers as animal-like, claiming their presence increased poverty and crime rates, or the characterization of Shek as Krull extremists, who performed honor killings, ate babies, hijacked caravans, and generally increased violence in imperial cities. Though the Heroes League rose to defend the United Cities, the brutal, corrupt slave state more often inspired rebellion, like the story of Luquin, who as a boy of 14 saw his whole world crumble when his parents' business failed, leaving them poor and homeless. Considered a burden to society, they were sold into slavery, where, for the next year, they were beaten, starved, and worked to exhaustion. After the death of his father in the mines, his mother sacrificed her life so Luquin could escape, wandering the desert until found by ninjas, who trained him as a stealthy assassin. 7 years later, he returned to the Empire and embarked upon a campaign of vengeance, impaling Lord Kurosaga on his own sword while leaving a note that read, "1 down, 5 to go." When Luquin was finally arrested, he was paraded through the streets of Heng and imprisoned in Tengu's vault, where he was tortured, starved, and forced to write a book in tribute to the Emperor. Others who rebelled against the United Cities included Boss Simeon and his rebel farmers based out of Sinkun to the north, former peasants and slaves who fled the Empire and survived through banditry, as well as the slave rebellion that liberated the city of Morn in the Bone Fields, becoming a free settlement under the influence of tech hunters. The United Cities also fought the anti-slavers of Spring in Stobe's Gamble, led by the legendary warrior Tinfist, former friend of Emperor Cat-lon, and Valamon's Reavers of the Ark in Stobe's Garden, a faction of vicious slavers who wished to overthrow and replace the lazy, corrupt nobility of the United Cities to form a more efficient and competently administered government. For many years, the southern United Cities were at war with the Shek Kingdom under King Shagger, until he was killed and replaced by Asada the Stone Golem, who made peace and encouraged trade. The United Cities were also in a constant state of war with the cannibal tribes of the north, and saw the end of a long stretch of peace with the Holy Nation when they invaded and destroyed the city of Bast, killed the noble leader, and enslaved the population, leaving the region an active war zone. A special thanks to all those who contribute to CivilizationEx, like Tamika the Black Wolf, Faith the Wandering Huntress, Mamoru the Obscured Hermit Alchemist, and Ambassador Alex Nunez. If you'd like to help the channel, be sure to give a like, leave a comment, subscribe, and click on the links below, or else go to patreon.com/CivilizationEx, where you can gain early access to videos and watch the Patreon-only series, Heroes of Lore and Legend.